I'm a vet. I was in from 68 to 72. I got caught in the draft. I finished 2 years of college and didn't get re-registered for college in time. And I got home and my mother met me at the door with a welcome to the Selective Service Board. And so I was drafted and working in a cardboard factory. And I was drafted. And so I quickly scrambled and I got into the Air Force. And that was long 4 years. And I was a clerk. And I was serving upcountry in Thailand from 70 to 71. And the happiest day I remember that year is I had my manifest to go home after serving 1 year in Thailand. We were in a group that was bombing the Ho Chi Minh Trail. And so all the guys were lined up behind me to go home. I wasn't going to miss that plane. We were working 12-hour days. I worked 6 at night till 6 in the morning. 7 days a week. We were short of clerks. And so I had my ticket on what we called the Big Bird home. But you had to get down to Bangkok to get on that plane. And so we flew prop jobs, C-130s to get home. And there were too many guys to get on that plane. And so you boarded that plane by rank. And I was an E5, a staff sergeant. I wasn't going to miss that plane. And they boarded by rank. And so they said, all lieutenant colonels and above can board this plane. And so there was one lieutenant colonel, and he boarded that plane. I walked right behind him. I wasn't going to miss that plane. And we walked up on that C-130 to go home, and the loadmaster stopped me. He said, you aren't getting on that plane. And that lieutenant colonel knew exactly what I was up to. And he turned to that loadmaster and he said, Sarge, he's with me. So I got on that plane. I wasn't about to miss that. And about 5 guys got bumped. And so they weren't going home that day. But I surely was. That was the happiest day of my life. I took off my uniform. It was not kind coming home. Very, very different experience than these guys coming home from the Middle East experience. There were no parades for us. There were no glorious welcome homes. There was no thank you for your service. It was an ugly, ugly time. I'm not sure if you remember it, but it was a time to take off your uniform. It was tough. It was not a proud time. It was post My Lai massacre, and it was not a proud time to serve. We were the first time that we had lost. Our dads had come home from World War II victorious, and we were losers. We were spit upon. We were not favored children. And so that was something that our generation had to live with. And guys dealt with that in different ways. I've been processing Vietnam. That's 50 years ago for me. And I've been reading 2 books on Vietnam. One is the book by Hare on where he writes from 68 to 69, where he writes home as a Canadian correspondent on the craziness of Vietnam. And that's helping me process it. And the other one's a historical book on Vietnam from 1945 to 1975, where we got thrown out. And so this event, the books, all of this has helped me process my experience and walk it through for myself and put some of it to rest for me, for my own passive involvement in the deaths and our participation in that war. Very, very unjust war.